Wij gaan naar de universiteit op zoek naar Juliette. Die dan hopelijk wel hier is. Nou, er is wel wel iemand.
Ja. En het is een chickie.
It's as though we've journeyed to the tropics. I don't know how you can stand to keep
Bezig
that
met
coat
een
on.
bonsaiboompje. Er is hier ook een opstaptrap.
Those flowers are definitely not native to this area. They seem to be thriving in their glass tubes, though.
Ja, er wordt hier onderzoek gedaan bij de specimens.
Quite the assortment of plants they keep in here.
Dit is
Wonder
een
if they serve any
greenhouse.
purpose or are just meant to look pretty. Judging from that
Hier
pipe,
is weer een
that contraption
contraption.
must be used to keep the plants hydrated. It looks like a giant earwax remover to me. I've never seen a flower
Giant
grow that.
earwax
I
remover.
suppose they're feeding.
Meer kunnen we niet aanklikken, behalve de
One of those
bonsaiboom
cute
en die
little
vrouw zelf.
Japanese trees that are all the rage these days. Personally, I don't see how giving a tree a haircut is meant to be relaxing.
Nou, Juliette.
Pardon the disturbance, but
I
are
love
you
it.
Juliette Montgomery?
I am. And you are?
Miles Fordham. I'm a private investigator looking into the events surrounding your mother's attempted murder.
Ah, of course.
Have you got time to answer some questions?
Yes, that shouldn't be a problem.
Nou,
Do you know
we kunnen
anything
wel
about
wat
the
vragen
events
stellen
leading up
over
to
wat
your
we
mother's
gevonden hebben in haar
premature
huis.
retirement?
No, it was a complete shock. Mother seemed to be perfectly healthy and full of life. Then, without warning, she was dead. Or so we thought.
I take it you were glad to be wrong?
What a ridiculous question. Of course I was. What sort of heartless beast would celebrate their mother's death?
Oh, I could name a few. Juliette definitely didn't shed any tears over Madame Dupré, though. That much is obvious.
Miss Montgomery, you don't have to lie to me. I'm not going to assume you tried killing your mother just because you weren't upset by her death.
I felt terrible about it. You have to understand, I didn't want her to be dead. I just felt a sense of relief. Please, don't think me a horrible person, Mr. Fordham. It's just that Mother and I aren't currently on the best of terms.
Why don't you and your mother get along?
We've never completely seen eye to eye on anything. She always disapproved of anything I did. When I was younger, she used to forbid me from speaking to the servants. I saw no harm in a kind word or smile, but she warned us that if we were too familiar, they would take liberties. Then when I declared my intentions to pursue academic studies, she really went livid. In her opinion, a university education was tantamount to a chastity belt. What sort of man would want a wife with a head full of useless facts, she'd say.
Personally, I've always found intelligence to be quite attractive.
I assume your mother didn't approve of your involvement with Mr. Martin?
A rather forward question, Mr. Fordham.
Ja, daar zijn wij al achter dit.
You're not mistaken. I'm not sure how she managed to find out about Albert and me, but when she did, she nearly had a conniption. As I'm sure you can understand, the situation at home has been less than perfect in the last few months. I'd really rather not dwell on it.
You mentioned you were friends with the servants.
Yes, that's right. I didn't care that they worked for us. Everyone needs a friend.
Did your mother ever mistreat them?
Mistreat? No, I wouldn't say so. She was always very stern, though, and quite cold. If they ever shirked their duties or misbehaved, they were punished, of course, but nothing out of the ordinary that I ever saw. Most of the servants are my friends, but I'm closest with Amelie, the kitchen maid.
Kijk.
Mother wasn't too happy about that. Amelie's been around as long as I can remember.
Ja.
She's like the aunt I never had.
What can you tell me about Albert Martin?
I'm not quite sure where to begin.
Why not start by telling me what your relationship with him was?
We met here at the greenhouse. He was working as an assistant, sweeping and cleaning and fetching things for the students. My focus was on academics, naturally. I wasn't too interested in romance. In fact, I've had to turn away nearly every single one of my classmates. But with Albert, I found myself intrigued. I noticed him stealing glances, lingering just a bit too long after bringing over a book or flask, sweeping the same patch of floor near me over and over again. It wasn't too long before I had him bringing me tools and equipment, regularly.
I see.
As I mentioned, Mother was an absolute terror when she found out.
Do you believe Mr. Martin did what he stands accused of?
I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't seem like him, but Albert can be quite passionate. If the police believe he's to blame, then they must have a reason for it. It wasn't any secret that he hated Mother. Perhaps I should have ended things sooner. It was satisfying to know that Mother was displeased, but I never imagined it would lead to something like this.
Well, it's nice to see she's all heart.
Nou, inderdaad.
So, you study botany. Fascinating subject.
Are you an admirer of plants, Mr. Fordham?
My wife has the green thumb in the household, but I do have a certain appreciation for them.
Plants are amazing things, just like people in many ways.
How do you mean?
They need attention and care. Ignore a plant, and it will wither. Give it too much attention, and it will become sick. Plants have many things to teach us, and I greatly enjoy learning from them.
Do you know anything about ethericity, Miss Montgomery?
You surprised me, Mr. Fordham. I had no idea someone of your
wij gevonden in haar
profession would
huis.
know or care about something like
Die
that.
open was.
I've found that it pays to be open-minded.
To answer your question, yes, I am familiar with the theory of ethericity. In fact, it's recently become a focus of my studies. Despite what the newspapers have been reporting, it's already possible to access it in small quantities from the air around us.
Have you conducted any experiments?
No, my research has been purely
Dat is niet
theoretical.
waar.
I
Dat
don't
hebben wij
have
al
the means
ontdekt.
to do
Lul.
anything practical,
Ja,
I'm
zij
afraid.
jokkenbrokken.
Deceiver, dissembler, her trousers are alight. I can't understand why Juliette might not want to make her research public, though.
Miss Montgomery, please don't lie to me. I know you've been conducting experiments with ethericity. I've seen the room you're renting on Forest Lane.
What? But how?
You find a
Met onze
spare key in your
oogballen.
room. Your brother told me. Nee, we gaan dat gewoon zeggen.
Ja,
Ja, we gaan gewoon flexen.
I wouldn't be very good at my job if I didn't find things out, Miss Montgomery. Now please, drop the act and tell me about your experiments.
Fine. I've been researching etheric effects on living organisms. I'm planning on presenting my discoveries to the board once I make more progress. So far, I've managed to discover that plant growth is accelerated significantly. It's given me quite the advantage in class.
But isn't that cheating?
You have no idea how difficult it's been for me to be taken seriously, Mr. Fordham. No matter how hard I tried, my work wasn't valued on its own merits by my peers or professors. I fought hard to get where I am. I wasn't about to lose all that just because some pig-headed idiots didn't think my best was good enough.
That sounds awfully familiar.
What about your notes on the effects of ethericity on animals?
Oh, those aren't complete. I haven't tested the effects on anything larger than flies. Those experiments were mainly to satisfy my curiosity, but they have little to do with my actual research.
Curiosity?
Misschien heeft ze dat wel gebruikt op haar moeder.
dat is het eerste wat
I
ik
never
dacht,
really
ja.
understood these scientific types.
What can you tell me about your brother?
Andrew, Mama's precious little boy. If you've met him, you pretty much know all you need to. He's had the whole world handed to him on a silver platter. But he's in for a rude awakening someday. Mother can only provide for him for so long.
No more questions for now.
Then if you don't mind, I have work to do.
Kijk, dan hebben wij
Oké.
toch weer wat onderzoek gedaan.
Ja,
En dan kunnen we nu denk ik met de kokvrouw ook praten.
dat lijkt me wel, ja.
De stimulant, die moeten we bij de Weeping Angel vandaan halen.
Mhm.
We moeten nog een bericht brengen naar Albert's mother.
Ja, ik ga mijn boodschap.
Ja. We hebben nog die Torn Ladder. Ja. En dan zijn we voor nu ook klaar in deze locatie. En dan gaan wij in de volgende video maar weer naar de volgende locatie.
Dat lijkt me goed.
Dus graag tot dan.
Groeten en...
Doei.